Hey guys, my name is Jonathan, developer of Axia and the Grim Reaper. Axia and the Grim Reaper is a vigilante simulator, taking inspirations from games like Persona 5 and Final Fantasy. The game is about managing your life between going to school and being a vigilante. The game is based around a calendar system, making your choices impactful and have weight. For instance, on a Monday, you may have college classes, but you also have a contract that requires your immediate attention, and you may decide to skip your college classes to check on that contract. However, to do so might make your teachers upset, and you might miss assignments, so you'll have to weigh the consequences to see if it's worth it. Well, there's a schedule. You can bend it. Just be careful that you don't bend it too much, because it will bite you later on. How much it bites you, though, is up to you. The game has been in pre-production on and off for the last several years, only recently kicking into high gear. Earlier this month, I released a brief demo that showcases a very small portion of the game. I'm proud of what my team and I were able to deliver with the limited funds in a month, but I believe we can do a lot better. Recently, I began working on a new plan to create a vertical slice of the game. I started with a blank project to nail the fundamentals before bringing in any assets and making the game look pretty. It was important to me that the game feels and plays well before I make it look good. I first started out with a building mechanic that I wanted to use in a part of the game called the net. The net is inspired by the grid from Tron and is a 3D visualization of cyberspace. I wanted to create a mechanic that allowed the player to have freedom to solve problems and decide how to tackle situations with their own creativity. However, I realized shortly after making this building mechanic that it clashes with the core principles of the game and decided to scrap it for now. After the building mechanic situation, I realized I needed a plan. I needed to know exactly what defined my game. That way, I can always check myself to see if what I'm making makes sense for the game. After laying out a plan and a core concept, I got to work developing a new dialogue system for the game. The previous version of the demo featured dialogue, but it was limited to watching two characters talk to each other. I didn't find this very fun. So with this new dialogue system, I wanted the player to be able to choose how to respond, while also staying true to the character of Axia. With this in mind, I created the new dialogue system that allows me to create full conversations with any NPC, and let the player respond throughout the conversation using responses. I've always wanted to make a system like this ever since I played Skyrim as a kid, so making this was actually really cool. With the dialogue system in place, I then set my sights to create the calendar system. All the events that you will do in the game are tied to the calendar system, so getting that done first was important. I decided to add several different states for the time of day as well, including 4 different phases for each day. Along with that, I also added weather phases. With the game playing out over the course of several seasons, I wanted to show weather and its effects as you played the game. Some days it will be sunny, others rainy. I also wanted to make it to where if you study on certain days when it's stormy outside, you'll actually gain a bonus for doing so. The last part that I wanted to add for this update was an overworld. I really enjoyed the overworld from Final Fantasy 7 and 8, and I wanted to add one for mine. For this, I created a miniature map that the player can walk around in and navigate to their destination. I found that being able to physically move in the overworld gives you a better sense of place and location, so you never feel like you're just teleporting to different places. Overall, I'm really happy with what I was able to accomplish in just the last few days of development, and I'm looking forward to adding more to the experience. A build of this version of the game will be available to download on Patreon. Those who subscribe to Patreon will have multiple tiers to select from. Selecting the second tier, or anything above that, will give you access to the game early. If that interests you, I'll leave a link to the Patreon down below. All the funds from the Patreon will go directly towards funding development costs, like getting new models made, getting artwork done. With that said, thank you so much for watching, and I wish you the absolute best.